on the recording option. Here we go. So I'm recording my PPT I will upload it on YouTube for you to check it out again. So before not delaying anymore, um, this webinar is basically a lecture type webinar. There would be very less of hands-on. There is actually no hands-on. So the idea is to give an introduction to you of Google Earth Engine. So every slide has link to whatever map and resources I've used. I'll share the PPT in your WhatsApp group and even in your email. You can check it out. All the links have been shared, and much of which all the presentation, much of what I'm presenting is from Google. It's from Google Earth Engine team and not created by myself, other than a few maps. So you can check it out everything after the webinar. So I'm going to talk about a little bit of background, and after that, how Earth Engine is very useful for various kinds of time series analysis, and a few case studies which link to United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and how you can contribute, and end with a few links. They are not all of them, but a very few ones which will help you to start your journey with Google Earth Engine, and I will go through all of those links one by one. Um, as you know, there are a lot of satellites up there. There are countries launching many satellites um, every and there's time. Please kindly turn off your microphone when you join. And once you there's a lot of data set out there, and the idea, we have all gone through downloading each image from USGS Earth Explorer, downloading them and processing, and it takes enormous amount of hardware and software capability and time to do so. And there's been satellites from Indian Space Agency, from the US, um, and that requires a lot of computational power. Earth Engine came as a solution to that, to provide you with cloud computing, big data, machine learning, an API for you to use it without having actual hardware and software capability of your laptop. You can do everything online as a cloud computing package. That's the whole concept of Google Earth Engine is. Well, you are all familiar with this. You can do this in Google Earth. You can go back and forth, look at the true color image, look at the time series and how things are changing. But it's very hard to quantify them. And Earth Engine came again as a solution to quantify what you're seeing this in this image, in this slide. So what you're looking at is deforestation in Assam. You're looking at urban expansion in Shanghai. Again, looking at deforestation in Amazon basin. But it's very difficult to quantify this change with the current software. When I say difficult, I mean time consuming. Earth Engine came as a solution to reduce that gap. Well, the main idea to is to have a tool to uh, provide certain tools for you, for us to have a huge cloud computing resources and to visualize them. And that's the future we are looking at. We are looking at high resolution images in order to visualize and process that in using less of our hardware and less time. So in simple terms, Google Earth Engine is a platform for your scientific analysis and visualization of a very large scale geospatial data set. So you are looking at 30 years of worth of change for a lake, or you're looking at 30 years of change for urban expansion. So things like that, which was not impossible but time consuming previously, now it's very quick with Earth Engine and other tools. You can very quickly. Earth Engine has all your, not all, but very general catalog already uploaded in their cloud. So you're looking at Landsat and Sentinel images, MODIS, vector data, land cover data, climate data, and more are being uploaded every month. So you don't need to download this, process this. Everything is being done by Google Earth Engine. What you have to do is to use it and analyze and report. So it kind of diminishes a lot of background processing, which we spend a lot of time in doing so, and spend less time in analyzing. Now you can spend very long time in analyzing this data set. You can go ahead and read a paper about Google Earth Engine published in Remote Sensing on Our Environment in 2017. Um, you can it gives you a general idea of what Earth Engine is and how it works. There's a link to the paper, and I highly recommend you to go through this paper before you start your journey with Google Earth Engine. So Earth Engine comes as a very powerful JavaScript API. You need to have a hang of your JavaScript and as well as Python. um, this how it looks like in a JavaScript API, where you can have your codes in the console and your results and charts and map over here. Very nice, very great news actually. Last month, very amazing guys. They developed a similar package, a tool for QGIS. I know we are very used to QGIS and not a API. So it's very good that now you can access Earth Engine with QGIS using Python. And at the end of the slide, I have given a link on how to use and install Google Earth Engine into QGIS. So you can go through that, and it's a very good tool because Earth Engine is very good for raster images. Also for vector, but not as much as QGIS. So with QGIS and Google Earth Engine, it's a very powerful combination, and I highly recommend you to start use that as well. Well, begin with Google Engine brings down your machine learning to just seven lines. This line is basically a supervised classification code where you are using a classifier called a cart, which is a regression tree. And then you train them using your training points and the bands, and what you get is an image of your classified image of a land use classification, which you can again display. So you're looking at very complex machine learning algorithm crunched down into 7 lines for us to just use it and then get our result, analyze and report. So it's basically very useful for us to kind of start using these kinds of technology in order to um, basically diminish the time we spend in processing and pre-processing. So this is a very simple 7 line code. I have different codes which I can share with you later with supervised classification if you're interested. And there are many online. You just have to Google supervised classification, Google Earth Engine, and you can get it. I just want to again briefly tell you about the typical workflow of Earth Engine and how it works. It works by you picking up your image with a projection, resolution, a bands, a bounding box, which is basically your study region, a region of interest, and your visualization, RBG, different colors. Then you apply an algorithm. This is very simple, like NDVI, for example, or NDSI, for example, and you apply that algorithm, same as ArcGIS, and you get an NDVI image. What is very useful with Earth Engine is that you can browse through all the images available, the best picture available on the Earth Engine, and then you can start working. Otherwise, previously you would download one image and you're not happy with it, and you download it again, and that takes a lot of time. Here you do not you don't have to download. You're looking through a filter of collection from times, space, and you're looking at metadata search. So it's customizing your search, which is very powerful, and that's what Earth Engine gives you. And then you can actually map over a collection of images. So you're looking at several images and you want to do NDVI for all those images, and it comes in Earth Engine, it comes as a collection of images, and that gives you power to apply one algorithm to all the images and see the change. And that's what I'm going to talk about in the segment of time series analysis. But the another thing with Earth Engine you can do is, once you have those images combined as a mean, you can actually do statistics on it. So you can aggregate those results and get your mean, your sum, your maximum and a median and average. And those things help you to really understand the change over time, and also even one single image. And these you can do by a few simple codes, few lines really. And lastly, as I was saying, to get the statistics in a form of a CSV or an image, which you can again further use in your other statistical softwares to do your very advanced statistical analysis. But this is 5 steps which kind of diminishes your time, the amount of time we spend in processing and pre-processing images. Um, this helps a lot. Uh, and so keeping that in mind, I would like to talk about a little bit on time series analysis with Earth Engine. Please remember, I'm going to go in very detail about Earth Engine analysis here. I have given you the YouTube link here, a link to a doc, which is basically a time series analysis practice page, really. So they have steps explained one by one, can just print it out and start typing. Kindly mute your microphone when you join in. Thank you. So that's what it is. You can do time series analysis, and I have shared the link with you, and you can go ahead and check. In Earth Engine, time series analysis comes as a collection of images, and a typical framework of time series analysis includes join. For example, you are mixing or joining different layers of information. So you're looking at sea surface temperature for 50 years, and you are joining all those layers together in order to get change for 1 pixel. So Google Earth Engine works in a pixel-based manner. So you have collection of images, and that you get your result in 1 pixel. The another framework is map. This is different than a capital letter map where you map it as a visualization. This map means that you apply one algorithm to all the pixels. So you wish to do NDVI. So you want NDVI for all the pixel in a collection of an images, and that was map does. Lastly, to reduce is to get statistics, basically to get your aggregation, and you're looking at a mean or a median or standard deviation. So it's to get statistics. There are many examples of, I'm sure you are very much familiar with all this statistical. I am not a very good in statistics, so I'm not going to talk much about statistics. You are way much better than I am, and I'm sure about it. So these are all the examples which you can do on Earth Engine, and it works exactly slightly different than how it works on your other softwares. But I'm going to read a little bit touch upon the linear modeling and the harmonic modeling, and how it looks like on Earth Engine, and how it's done. You all know what linear and harmonic modeling is, so I'm not going to talk much about what statistics. I'm really going to talk about how it looks like on Earth Engine. This is a web app which I have made using Earth Engine, and I've not shared the link of this because I'm still working on it. There are a few things I need to change, but you can get back to me after a week if you are into sea surface temperature or even land surface temperature. I'm developing these web app for you to explore. What you can see here is a time series for the year 2017, for the entire year, and this gives you a monthly value of sea surface temperature at a linear value. It's basically plotting the chart for 1 pixel really for this particular point, and it gives you a chart for sea surface temperature for the entire year, a mean sea surface temperature, um, and and this happens in 1 pixel basis. But what you do in the linear modeling, when you look at an equation, these are the betas for linear model. A P is a time series. We are looking at NDVI at a particular time for 1 pixel. For of course for the time we look at for annual time series, and the random error. And this equation, when we plot that on a chart, on a pixel basis, it gives you a linear trend. This is for 1 pixel near my hometown in Guwahati and outskirts of Guwahati. You're looking at since 1970s. Uh, a decline in NDVI for 1 pixel. This is not an area, it's for just for 1 pixel. And it shows a declining trend of NDVI over 30 odd years. When you export this chart, you can get it as a CSV format, and then you can again look at various different statistical analysis. If you're really interested on looking at different patches, different pixels of of crop, for example, you can use this link. I have given the link to create exactly this, what you can see on the screen, and then you can do your own statistical analysis out of this. The another one is a harmonic model of time. Just a basic concept is if you're looking at a deciduous forest, or you're looking at soil cover change, where you can see where there is a peak, and then it goes down. Basically, to see seasonality in a particular time series, where you have a constant, for example, your constant value of NDVI. You have a linear term where you see a linear increase or decrease in your trend, and then a harmonic trend where you actually want to look at the seasonality. And this is very important because you look at a peak, which is the phase. You want to look at the peak of one crop, and it's very useful for crop identification because you're looking at what time of the year there's a higher value of NDVI, and then you can map those based on your harmonic modeling. And there is a link in the beginning of the slides, a link to the complete explanation of harmonic model and Google Earth Engine. I'm not going to add more stuff into this because there is a lot online, and you can understand it when once you go online. Um, I've given the link for this, and please do check it out. But uh, how it looks like, and I have given the code. This is one place in Cambodia, and the green one is an evergreen forest pixel. A red one is a crop type 1, which I don't know what it is. It's just crop type 1, and blue one is a crop type 2. And you can see the harmonic model, harmonic trend for it's a time series over 5 years, for an evergreen forest, which there's a reason why it's called evergreen, because there is not much change in the trend here because it's an evergreen. Crop 2, you can see a harmonic model, you can see seasonality, you can see where in which season it goes up and down. It's basically a phenology, a vegetation phenology analysis, and then you can see a similar trend in your crop pattern, crop 2. And this actually gives you a very interesting idea of looking at it to see how crop 2 is going down and crop 1 is going up. And it's very interesting to monitor these changes and then predict, because what you can have, if you have a 30 years worth of vegetation phenology, you can predict another 10 years based on your analysis, and looking at those changes over time. So harmonic modeling really helps you to understand the phenology and the seasonality, and that you can do on Earth Engine very, very easily, because it helps you to not do all the pre-processing by downloading so much images. You can do a few line of codes. You can mask your clouds. You can get your best images based on best pixel. Have a combination of that, and then in the end result you get a chart of your harmonic modeling. And it's very interesting to look at it, and I'm going to look at it very soon for my future study. Um, just a brief few examples of very true recent papers. One of them is I've worked with my colleagues here in my department, and this is looking at Bilangana River Basin in Uttarakhand, and a long-term change of rainfall in Bilangana River Basin. So you're looking so one of the things which we figured out is a dry spell in between the 30 years time river basin, and its long-term change in rainfall. Similarly, something which I'm not familiar with mountain and rainfall over there because I don't study that much, but I've been able to tweak into the code. But you can look at the paper and connect the first author if you're interested. What I can tell you about is this one is looking at coastal land reclamation in Chinese coast, and basically it gives you an idea of change in pixel of modified normalus water difference, water index over time, and how it was changed from water to land. So what you can see is a declining trend in water pixel for one pixel, really for one pixel over 30 years. And this paper uses segmentation to see different segments and which year there was a really drastic drop in water index. So these two papers are the prime examples, but there are many. These are just a few. There are many study done in India as well, looking at lake area change, crop change. A lot of work done by IIT Mumbai. So you can check. Obviously, you can Google Scholar and check all those time series analysis and request for the code if you want to look at it. These papers are online. You can look at it if you are interested in such kind of time series analysis. You're looking at lake area change, so you can definitely use this algorithm and use surface water change for water index in any of your study region. If you're interested in rainfall patterns, you can definitely look at this paper and do your time series analysis for this paper. Moving on, this section is basically giving you an idea of, it's basically to tell you case studies, but case studies from a perspective of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which I'm sure everyone is familiar of. And this is a very good time for us to look back of these sustainable goals with COVID-19 keeping us all inside. I think this is very interesting now. We look at sustainable development goals very seriously, and how to use space, remote sensing, to help United Nations and to help any country to reach this development goal. So there is a website by United Nations of the Office of the Outer Space Affairs, and they have many programs and projects for space. It's called Space for SDGs, so Space for Sustainable Development Goals. And if you're really keen in getting involved, you can look up this link and see what are the kinds of work which you can do. But I'm just going to share with you a few examples of these, and they are very fascinating. One of them is actually mapping infectious disease, and well, that's malaria, which was done by Oxford University a few years ago. And this the same pattern, the same technique is being now used to map COVID-19, and it's a very brilliant time for you to explore and get inspired with the power of Earth Engine to map infectious disease. The other examples include water management using global surface water data set, deforestation, and also you're looking at snow cover dynamics of our glaciers around the world, and that's very key, a very important factor, especially for us, especially for people living in the Gangetic Plains, with the future looking very dark. But you can definitely use mapping and remote sensing and Earth Engine to do a time series analysis and help governance to monitor. Example number one, I'm sure you have heard about the Hassan et al. Global Forest Change dataset, which was done in, I think it was 2016 and or 2017. And you can download this dataset and you can use it in Google Earth Engine as well. This was completely done in Google Earth Engine, and it was the first effort to combine the entire set of Landsat over 30 years to prepare a global map of vegetation loss, and it showed quite a substantial loss of vegetation of evergreen forest in the Amazon basin, as well as in Indonesia. And I've given the link again. Every slide has link to what I'm using. You can go and check this fantastic app, and you can definitely use Google Earth Engine to do. You can definitely download this data set for your own region. Another example is actually from a friend and a colleague, Pradeep, who published a paper recently last year, 2019, looking at forest vegetation condition in India, in India's tiger reserve. So once it was designated as tiger reserve, and the vegetation changed after that. It was published in scientific report. The link. Um, I'm sorry, I think I forgot to share the link, but you can definitely Google this title and check out this paper and the app as well. Another example is I'm writing an article on this. It's the malaria mapping malaria from space, which is done by Oxford University. What you're looking at, this is a global friction surface, and this map basically tells you how much time it takes for us to move around different landscape. So you're looking at the darker areas takes around 14 days to 1 day in Sahara Desert, but it takes an hour or less than an hour to travel across India. And why this is important when you're talking about infectious diseases? Because as we know right now, with all the contact tracing going on of COVID-19, such maps really help to understand the hotspots to predict really uh, because of our movement across space, we spread the diseases. We are taking it around. So this is now being used for COVID-19 as well to map the mobility of ours. And I've given you the code here to check out. This data is 2015, but you can use the same methods and develop your map for 2018. Quite rigorous work, but I'm sure you can do it using Google Earth Engine. Uh, this is another map because I wanted to show I'm building this map of land surface temperature using MODIS satellite, and what you can do is that you can click over one place and you can get a time series. It's similar to the ocean surface temperature which I showed you. It's not complete yet. There are a few things which I'm working on, and I'm soon going to share with you all. You just write me an email. I'm happy to share the link, and you can click on anywhere and change the year, and then what you get is a time series of land surface temperature, uh, basically around the world everywhere, but this is using MODIS satellite. This was very helpful in mapping malaria because malaria is active in hot temperature more than 40 or 30, and it basically helps you um, to map the possible places where you can have cases of malaria. And that's why temperature was useful in mapping malaria, and it was done using Google Earth engine. The another example of basically in India, which was done using Earth Engine, is to use the precipitation data set for places where it's not publicly available, and this you can click on this website and you can get a precipitation data set for each basin in India, and for different, it's a time series. You can click on a watershed and get your data set in millimeters. So this is already online and it's working, and it's been developed by the Earth Engine community in India, and it's a fantastic app to look at water availability, surface water availability in different parts of India. The another I'm very much a big fan of H3 in Bangalore, and the kind of work they are doing is fantastic, and they use a lot of machine learning, deep learning with Google Earth Engine. And if you're really interested in that, please connect with H3 in India. They are really fantastic bunch of people there, and this is kind of a research they did to look at the time series analysis of Tiger Reserve, and the goal was basically to provide a kind of forest cover land use maps for better forest management, and it's being used now, and I think that's a very powerful motive of Earth Engine, really to crunch down large data sets, geospatial data set, and provide you with these results, and it's ready to use. The another example is, I'm going to finish quickly. I know it's very long. The other example is the global surface water data set dataset which I have used for my PhD completely. So if you have any questions about global surface dataset, you can connect with me. I have worked it to map reclamation in Chinese coast. There is a link of this. You can go ahead and check. This was published in Nature in 2016, and now the data is available from 1985 till 2018. So it's more than 35 years of data set. The another example of using this for United Nations Sustainable Development Goals is to really map urbanization and urban expansion. This is a figure from my paper where I mapped reclamation in Chinese coast. Coastal land reclamation is basically building land on sea. Uh, Very typical example of Dubai, but this one is not Dubai. It's in China. The another example is the nighttime lights data. A very new paper, latest paper was published yesterday, improving this data set in Nature. You can go and check it out. And this one basically shows you an expansion of cities. The red one being the original cities. You can recognize some of these famous European cities, for example, Madrid and London, Moscow over here. And you can just see the expansion in Europe in terms of city, especially in Poland, where there has been an enormous increase in urbanization, and also in Italy over here in the northern part of Italy. So basically, helps you very nicely to monitor these changes. Another very interesting use of Earth Engine is to monitor tropical cyclones, which is very very useful for us living for me, because I live in the coast and many of us in India live in the coast. And this summer is going to be very hectic with the ocean temperature rising, and it's very important for us to monitor this change. This is an animation of Typhoon Mangkhut, which hit Philippines and then Pearl River Delta in China in 2018. And this was done using Sentinel-1 to track the to track the path of Typhoon Mangkhut. And there's a link of this as well if you want to make such animations for future um, typhoon and others. You can definitely have this code. These really help to monitor and plan for disaster mitigation at the coast. Uh, I have another 5 minutes with you. I really give you a quick kick kickstart for the resources which are already available. There are tons of resources and very nice people creating more resources, but there are a few basic ones which you can start working on it right now. But to begin with, when you start with Google Earth Engine, when you are familiar with the code editor, you can obviously go and click on the question mark, and there's a user guide, the developers question and answer site, developer discussion group, where you can definitely get a lot of help. And they're already, I'm sure the thing you're stuck in, people got stuck before, so you can search and find the solution. But the other are these. I have listed and giving you all the links to the famous to very useful ones actually. But I'm going to show you a few of them